Welcome to what's going to be part 2 of the ChoiceScript tutorial that I'm creating for Computers and Writing 2023. What I'm planning to do is take most of the content that we just looked at here in part 1, this is the startup file from part 1, and I'm going to distribute it across several different scenes in the project part 2. So here I'm going to click this plus sign in the part 2 project, and I'm going to add a file called Country Road. I'm going to add in, and I'm going to add Open Road. Now, this order that we have here doesn't affect the gameplay. In order to make the program actually use these files, over here in Startup, the startup page from part 1 is very complex and cluttered. I'm going to keep here on the startup page of part 2, I'm going to keep this just the startup information. So I'm going to add here the scene list. And we're going to start with Country Road, and we're going to end with the Open Road. So let's go here to Country Road, and we're going to just add another little bit of narrative and a choice. Now this path mentions go to scene in. As one of the options. The other is go to scene open road. So let's I'll call this a country road, I guess. Country road. There we go. Right now there's nothing here in, but I'm going down to the startup file from part 1. I'm going to grab all this stuff, not including the open road bit. I'm going to copy all that and paste it right here into the end. Now we're going to have to make some changes to that, but the idea is this is stuff that's associated with what's going on at the inn. And it doesn't make that much sense to keep all of that stuff here about the inn in what was the startup file for part 1. So now we're going to work with that. From the startup section, we have this little bit about the open road. I'm just going to, over here in the open road file, the separate file, just a little tiny bit of narrative, conclusion here. And I need to take this part of the inn that featured this optional ranger quest. I'm going to take all this stuff. This is the description of what happens when we're on the ranger quest. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to put it in a new file called Ranger Quest. Put it there. And when we finish, I'm going to add a new command, return. And then here in the inn, what we have right now is go to accepted ranger quest. We have a little bit that says you join the rangers on their exciting quest. Instead of having all this stuff that happens on the adventure right here, I'm going to change this now. I'm going to delete all that part. This is just now going to say go sub scene ranger quest. Unlike a go to command, which simply moves you from one place on one file to another label in the same file, the go sub scene sends you temporarily to another file. In this case, it's going to send us to Ranger Quest. Here in Ranger Quest, when we finish the page, this command return sends us back to where we came from. So the go sub scene sends you to another scene, another file. When you finish on that scene, return sends you back where you were. So now there might be some typos in what I just did right now. I've modified several files. If I click this save icon, it'll save all my files in the project, and let's see how it works. So we start in the country road. And we do that because here in the startup file, the first item in the scene list is a country road. On country road, I have the choice to go to the scene in or go to the scene open road. A go to scene command will load the in file, but unlike the go sub scene that I mentioned earlier, there's no sense that we're going to come back to this page after we finish the scene in. So here I can totally skip the in and journey on, and my story ends as I journey on towards my destiny, and I've never visited the inn. If I restart it from the beginning, let's now visit the inn, and all the stuff that we remember from the previous part 1, all that stuff has now been moved here to the separate file in, and seems to work pretty well. I'm going to try to see if the Ranger quest works. Let's go on the Ranger quest. I go adventuring, and I return to the inn. Yep, that works. Now this is interesting. This message tells me I return to the inn, but then I have the option of returning the inn and moving on. So let's find out. Let's find out where that stray message comes from. It's actually a good opportunity for me to. Oh, and I have a little spacing error here. Yeah, we got a little. This is a good opportunity for me to introduce this stepping debugging problem. Okay, so the issue is here. We join the Rangers on the quest. That works fine. We go on the quest, and I'm going to push this Start Stepping button, and we're going to go through the line step by step. This tells me, see this little arrow, it's a very subtle arrow. I wish it were a little brighter to see, but this tells me I have jumped from in to the Ranger Quest file, and if I step, this little arrow tells me exactly what's happening. So here in the adventuring file, after I get the success message, I get the message that I return to the inn. I step forward, I consider my options. That return command jumps us back to where we were previously when we went to the Ranger quest, and that was down here, Go Sub Scene Ranger Quest, and now you can see that very hard to see arrow shows me I've gone past that. So I'm going to stop stepping now. And what we can see is here, after I accept the Ranger Quest, go to Accepted Ranger Quest, we jump down here in the in scene. It does this Go Sub Scene Ranger Quest. That takes me to the Ranger Quest file. And there, here in the Ranger Quest file, it tells me you return to the inn. But I haven't made the choice to return to the inn yet. So I'm just going to delete all that. All I need on this page right now is this page break, which gives us that Go Adventuring button. Then we get the success message, and then we return back to the inn. And that'll take us back to right here. Let's see. I'm going to add an extra blank line here, because if you remember last time, there was kind of a weird spacing error. Okay, so I've done a little bit of debugging. I'm going to push the play button. I'll visit the inn. I'm going to join the grizzled-looking adventurers. We'll start stepping again. I click Next, and Step. Where am I now? I'm jumped down here to accept the quests. I'm going to see you join the Rangers. We'll see that message. There we go. Here we are now in the Ranger Quest scene, and I push the Go Adventuring button. I have to step again, and we've returned now, and we no longer see that 2 success message. We just see 1. I should probably here add, you consider your options. Okay. Yeah, so that's working pretty well. That worked about as well as I could have expected. However, as you can see, every time you come to the Ranger quest, success is immediate and inevitable, and it's really not very fun. So let's complicate this Ranger quest just a little bit. Instead of automatically giving us success, we're going to give the player a choice of using a language skill, melee weapon, or a ranged weapon to attack. Well, what are they attacking? How about we add just a little bit of context that explains what is going on? So before we have this choice, let's give just a little bit of context that tells us that we're up against some trolls. Okay. All right. So now the thing is, if you remember from last time, when we play this, we're going to get an error message. And I'll remind you what that error message is going to be. We'll go to visit the inn. We go join the Grizzled Rangers. Let's go adventuring. And we get that error message. Remember that error we saw before? Expected choice body. A choice asks you, after the player has made a choice, you have to tell them where to go next. Now, there is actually something called a fake choice. And if we imagine we're in a situation where we just want to make it look like the player is making a choice, but no matter what they choose, the same thing's going to happen, we can give it a fake choice. And that's like a really quick way to add at least the illusion of interactivity, and we can move on. I'm going to check and make sure that this works all right for you. We go adventuring now, so here we are. We're now here. We push the button for go adventuring, and now we have these choices. No matter what I pick, all that's going to happen is we're going to jump down to that success line. Success, I consider my options, and let's move on. And what happened here? Let's see. Bad label, open road. Okay. What I need to do, instead of go to open road, it's going to be now go to scene open road, because there is no longer this little bit of message that has you moving along the open road. So that should now be go to scene. And do I have another go to? Yeah, we have another go to right there. So that's got to be a go to scene. Okay, so we've come across bugs like this from time to time. It's a normal part of coding. To make this Ranger quest just a little bit more interactive, let's, instead of making sort of success automatic and random, I guess success is still going to be automatic, but let's make it, just at least a little bit more interactive by varying that success message, so that at least the player reads something that appropriately engages with the choice the player has just made. And since all these messages say success already, let's leave off that success message. And I don't know, I guess if you are just talking with the trolls, your muscles wouldn't necessarily be aching. We'll just, instead of that generic success message, we'll leave it with these messages. And now when we run this, visit the inn, join the party, go adventuring. Here, I'll charge with my melee weapon, and my strength and endurance win the day, and there we go. So I'll move on and end the story. Now, to follow the pattern that we've done before, let's go to this start here. I'm going to put this I like having the start up at the end. Let's hear on the here. I'm in this situation where I've accidentally clicked, and now it thinks that I'm trying to rename something. So it's a little bit annoying part of the ChoiceScript IDE, but I'll get used to it. So I am now going to turn this back into a choice. So let's add a label here. We got a rhetorical attack. A label for a direct attack. And we'll do a ranged attack. And now, instead of putting this text here, let's just put it down here. Here we'll do rhetorical attack. Copy that. Direct attack. Put that there. All right. And now functionally, from the player's perspective, this won't look any different. But the thing about it is now we can start to more easily expand these things. So the point of a choice script is to give the player choices. So let's give them some choices. I'm adding a bit of context. A situational analysis suggests this is the time to try engaging the trolls using. You can choose logos, ethos, and pathos. And I'm going to take advantage of this a moment to talk about, see the little triangles right here? If your project starts to get too complex, and let's say I'm perfectly satisfied with this structure, and I kind of don't want it cluttering up my screen, I can click this little triangle, and that whole choice structure just folds up completely nicely. If I'm satisfied with that choice, I can just fold that up. So anyway, that's just a kind of a useful way to manage things. It would allow me to see, okay, if these items were so long and so detailed and involved that I lost track of what these choices were, I could fold each one of them up, and it allows us to sort of, see that hierarchy. And let's see, walking us through this, you can see here, there are now 3 different ways to return to the place that called the Go Sub Scene Ranger Quest. That looks like we're doing well. So let's save that, and let's run that. I'm going to visit the inn. I'm going to join the party. I'm going to accept the quest, go on the quest, and now I'm going to choose the rhetoric quest. Within the rhetoric quest, how about I appeal to their ethos? And I gain their trust, appeal to their rational egoism, and I will now move on. So in this video, I've demonstrated how we can split up the contents of a single long file into several separate scenes that interact together in a sensible way, and that will really help us as we start expanding the individual scenes. In the next video, I will introduce a very simple system for tracking props such as the player's gold, and also some ways to customize the character and how the game refers to you as the protagonist. So I'll see you in the next section where we'll continue developing this file that I'm calling Part 2.